Hey everybody, it's Evan with SpawnWave Media, and welcome to today's edition of Esports Wave. Now, a week ago, we had BlizzCon. That was the big reveal for Overwatch League. We're going to get into that in a minute. It's probably one of the more important stories in these past couple weeks. But for now, I want to take a look at a couple other things that occurred that were a little bit interesting to me. First off, falling in line with a story I covered in the last Esports Wave, we're seeing yet another major sports team picking up an esports gaming house. This time we have Jerry Jones, the owner of Dallas Cowboys, picking up Complexity Gaming. Now, Complexity Gaming's a pretty big name in esports. It's a team that has existed since about 2003, and since then, it has overseen 26 different teams in the arena of esports, and has actually accrued 130 victories. This purchase seems a little more interesting to me, though, than the Yankees purchase from about 4 weeks ago, in that the team, Complexity, actually is going to be moving from their home in Florida all the way out to Texas, where they're going to be living and working alongside everyone that works at the Dallas Cowboys headquarters. It's going to be interesting to see the more hands-on approach that this company is going to have with this group, to see how they kind of push the advertising for them, push the actual branding, because that's what it's really all about, is trying to get these teams a little bit more public recognition from people who might not really know the players, know the teams themselves. And I'm really liking this trend of major sports entertainment companies picking up esports teams. It'll hopefully move them a little bit closer into a future that, honestly, I didn't see happening for another 50, 60 years. It's starting to look like it might happen in 5, maybe 10. So it's more impressive that this is occurring, because it means things can maybe start to churn forward in a way where esports becomes more major in people's minds than just this thing where little nerdy kids get together and just play a game until one of them wins. It's always been more than that for a lot of us, and I feel like the representation these companies can bring to the industry would just be wonderful. Also, last week we got to see the League of Legends World Finals. Team Samsung Galaxy, which, yeah, that's the phone, but it's also a team, went up against SK Telecom. Now, for the longest time, Samsung Galaxy has been a sort of meme in the industry. It's a team that was really good at one point, but then all the players decided they wanted to go to other teams, so they sort of pull in no-names and amateurs from all over to try to create something that was as strong as it used to be, but never really achieved much. And they went up against SK Telecom, which has a legend among League of Legends as one of their coordinating members on the team, known as Faker. If you've played the game, you probably know that name. Even if in a minor capacity you don't even really look into the esports side of it, you're probably very aware of who Faker is. For the longest time, he's been the crowned king of best players in the entire game. So to watch Samsung Galaxy win against that, it was an amazing David and Goliath story. There's this wonderful, no one expected it moment. Like, that's really one of the better aspects, I think, in esports that we need to focus more on. And Riot does a good job of that. The recordings that I watched from the actual on-stage talks and interviews, it just was wonderful. They really nailed the emotional stress that Faker was under having lost. It was really just a great moment. So congratulations to Samsung Galaxy on a victory well earned. Now, those two stories were probably one of the more major ones that happened outside of BlizzCon. Blizzard came to the table showing off what Overwatch League will be. And it's very important when you consider esports as an industry that what they're doing actually pans out. I mean, a lot of us look at what's been happening with Overwatch League up until now, and all we're seeing are the complaints, the issues, the teams who can't get passports to go to tournaments. It's just non-stop issue after issue, making the initial purchase price of several $1 million seem absolutely worthless. But what they've laid out is very close to what I think will pull people in from all over, who maybe don't play the game, who maybe just want to watch something interesting and competitive. It's like right there on the cusp of being understandable to everyone. In particular, the announcement of the teams, talking about which cities the teams are going to be from, talking about the divisions between Pacific and Atlantic that they're going to have. The system that they're going to be implementing in Overwatch to make it so that it's easier to determine which team is playing, because now there are team colors. So it should make spectating the game be that much more understandable and readable as to the action going on. But then outside the game itself, with the players, they're sorting out an issue I've had with Dota 2 for a very long time by making it so that the rosters of your teams become sort of standardized. You're not seeing a lot of player movements between tournaments, between seasons. You're not watching a guy win a couple rounds with one team for the beginning and then moving to another immediately. It's never those moments of who do I follow, which team do I cheer for, I have no clue what's going on or who's going where. It's more finite. It takes the approach that the physical sports take by giving you the ability to just cheer for your hometown, your local city. Like for John and I, if we were probably going to cheer for someone, it would probably be the Philadelphia Fusion. That's a team for a city that's like 40 minutes away from us. The Overwatch League announcement also showed what teams are going to exist as well as who owns them. So there are some interesting names. There's some standard ones. A lot of the gaming houses did pick up teams for this, like Optic Gaming, Immortals, and other such teams like that. But there were a few that are industry owned, which I thought was really interesting. Like there's 2 Los Angeles teams. One of them's owned by Immortals, a gaming house. The other's owned by a company which I'm going to butcher the name of, Crow and Key Sports and Entertainment. These guys own the Arsenal Football Club, they own the Los Angeles Rams, they own the Denver Nuggets, and they also own the Colorado Avalanche. We also have the Boston team, the Boston Uprising. They're owned by the same guys that own the New England Patriots. The New York Excelsiors are owned by Sterling VC, the same guy that owns the New York Mets. And even the, yeah, screw it, they're my team now, the Philadelphia Fusion, they're owned by the same people that own the Philadelphia Flyers. The schedule was also revealed. Apparently, every single team in the league is going to be playing about 40 games a season, 20 of which will be in and among their own division, and 20 of which will be across the division. And there are prize pools that exist for the division, as well as the cross division, the finals, all of it. I'm really hoping the Overwatch League actually takes off. I'm not like a massive fan of Overwatch. I get it as a game. It does interest me in some regards, but I haven't really played it in about a year. But the prospect of this kind of system being in an esports style game is just astounding, because up until now we've had Valve, who approach everything as a sort of let's hand it to the fans and have the fans see what they want to do with it. And it generates kind of a weird system where players just leave teams and join others, and the whole goal is to get to the international and win it. That's 100% the goal, because that's millions of dollars for half these people who are around their 20s, tops on average. And then Riot takes the approach of a totalitarian, you know, these are the rules, these are the regulations, you have to do all of this. If you break any of them, you get in massive trouble. We'll basically shun you if we have to. It's a very controlled, very almost hermetically sealed part of the industry. Blizzard gets to approach it now from the direct aspect of, like, this is how sports work normally. Now we're seeing how it works in esports. So these companies now get to look at this and go, maybe we should put teams in cities. Maybe we should be a little bit more serious about having players sign like 3 or 4 year contracts. Like, we probably shouldn't, like, just let it kind of sit over here, because if Overwatch League, despite all of its faults and flaws, builds itself up to be this incredible thing that everyone wants to watch and stick with, it's going to pave the way for everyone else to start to implement that into themselves. And that's a great thing, especially with what happened over at BlizzCon this weekend for the announcement of Overwatch League. It overshadowed in watching hours what everyone else did, and there was a lot it was contending with over this weekend. We had a major tournament in Dota 2. I think even Worlds was going on at the same time. Yeah, they were overlapping events, and yet, even though Twitch is Riot's home, like that's their exclusive, this is where you watch our tournaments place to go, Blizzard still took 2.7 million watching hours. I think Riot was a 0.3-ish, maybe less. So it was close, but we're talking about a game, a tournament that everyone's been kind of downplaying, everyone's been talking kind of a lot of crap about. It's even done horrible things for itself, having players sort of not make it to the actual tournament. I think a lot of players who were supposed to be there couldn't even get visas. It was miserable. Everything's just constantly like stuff's going wrong. You're gonna watch a train wreck, probably avoid it. You got all these other things to watch, yet they pulled it out. They took the most watched thing over that weekend, and it looks great for a very positive future for that type of a league. I'm really hoping it continues in that vein, just to see all these other companies take from that the positives and move it into their own little metric of what they want to achieve as a gaming company in esports. So that's about it for the major esports news from these past couple weeks. Again, congratulations to Samsung Galaxy on a hard-fought victory, as well as the South Korean team for winning the Overwatch World Cup. I'm Evan with Esports Wave. Let's all meet back here in about 2 weeks. Until then.